Previously on Thought Slime.
Capitalism is goofing up your life, and here are 50 reasons why divided into 5 categories. The purpose of advertising is to get you to want to buy stuff, and you probably wouldn't want to buy so much stuff if there weren't loud, glaring demands to buy stuff blasted into your brain everywhere you go. Watch, I'll do one right now. Have you been to patreon.com/thoughtslime? Try shoving a jade egg up your cooch. That'll cure, I don't know, gingivitis. In fact, you know what? Just to be safe, only eat beef with maybe some turmeric and pepper. Just beef, only beef. That's the only thing you're allowed to eat from now on. And no matter what you do, if you take nothing away from this, please, only eat it between the hours of 12 and 8 p.m.
I've completed my air-to-slime missile, and I will launch it unless you give me the power crystal.
You can't touch me, pal. You might have missiles. I got the power of Bofa.
Bofa? What is this Bofa? Is it powerful? I want the power of Bofa. Put Bofa in my hands.
Hello, welcome to Slime Compete. I'm Canadian Johnson, and we gotta drop the bits. There's no time for bits. We got a lot of stuff to get through. Last time, when we left off, we still had 5 more health things to get through. So, more health now. You might notice I wear a Fitbit so that I can check and see if I'm having a heart attack at any given moment. Nope. According to this device, I have a sleep score of about 78%, meaning I don't hit my sleep target at least a fifth of the time. You might think that richer people tend to sleep less because they're working harder, but according to the CDC, people who reported they were unable to work or were unemployed had lower healthy sleep duration, 51% and 60% respectively, than did employed respondents. The prevalence of healthy sleep was highest amongst people with a college degree. Ergo, rich people and middle-class people, did you sleep better? Not enough, mind you, nobody's sleeping enough apparently, but better than poor people. Life under capitalism is constant stress for most of us. We have to work shitty jobs we have no control over in order to buy shitty disposable products to survive. All the while, we're blasted with advertising that preys on our insecurities, not to mention all the ways that capitalism is fucking over the planet. Are your grandkids gonna have clean drinking water? Who knows? Do you have clean drinking water right now? It's unclear. I'm not trying to be dramatic. Cases of drug companies literally bribing doctors are pretty rare. I mean, they happen, and they did exacerbate the fentanyl crisis. But what happens a whole lot more is some wink wink nudge nudge type of bribery. Maybe some pharma company invites a bunch of doctors to a retreat. Maybe they show them some slideshow about their newest products with some carefully massaged data. Maybe wine 'em and dine 'em. I mean, that's not bribery. We're not asking anybody to prescribe our drugs when they're not necessary. We're just showing them all the benefits of our drugs and giving them a bunch of stuff for free. Nothing illegal there. Feeling sick? Feeling like you're not going to be able to put in a full day's work? Don't want to go into work and get all your coworkers sick? Well, hope you don't think you can self-diagnose yourself with the common cold. You have no idea whether or not you've got a cold, and besides, how is your boss supposed to trust you when you say you have one? It's the type of thing you'd lie about, because obviously your job sucks and nobody would do it if they had any excuse to not do it, and that's normal and just the way the world should work for some reason. No, if you've got a cold, you better be willing to go and waste your time and your doctor's time, and probably some of your money, getting a note that says what you already knew, so that your boss knows not to fire you for getting sick. But let's be honest here, you're not going to do that. You have too much work to catch up on anyways, and maybe you can't really afford to miss a day of work. You might not have any sick days left, and you know what? Fuck it, maybe I can work from home, or I'll just go into the office. What does it matter to me? And now, you're not resting, and you're going to be sick for even longer, and wouldn't you know it, that's going to get your coworkers, and your customers, and everybody that walks by sick. You know what? On second thought, I will go to the doctor. She's got to have something I can use to feel better, right? Well, no, sadly, there is no cure for the common cold, but there are a lot of drugs that don't cure the common cold, and you might have to take some of those. Either because your doctor has a sweetheart deal with the drug manufacturer, like we talked about earlier, or because she has such a full plate that it's easier to just write a prescription than give every single patient the precise medical care and attention that they might need to feel better. Which might be related to the way that antibiotics are often prescribed for non-bacterial infections, for which they are completely useless. Well, that's not fair. It's actually a little bit worse than useless because that could lead to the development of superbugs, which are immune to antibiotics, creating superpathogens that set human medical progress back to the Dark Ages. But I'm being a little dramatic. What's probably more likely is you'll have some shitty, useless drug marketed to you as though it could potentially help, even though it's really nothing. Thought Slime, the health drawbacks of vaccines are thoroughly debunked. Vaccines save lives. And yes, I know that. That's indisputable. That's the problem. See, the longer your feeble human lives continue, the longer your eyeballs are trapped within the prison you call a skull. Hello and welcome to the Eyeball Zone. Here in the Eyeball Zone, small leftist content creators are sacrificed to the eyeballs. In the last video, I talked about how capitalism affects body image, and that seemed to really resonate with a lot of you. So if you want to see a video that covers that much more thoroughly and thoughtfully, I'd recommend Why Body Positivity is a Scam by Kathrin. I know how that title sounds, but I assure you, the video is not fat-phobic in any way. It's actually about how the body positivity movement has been co-opted and recuperated by capital. How it's lost track of its radical roots and it's weaponized against the people it claims to represent. If you've ever felt shitty about your body, then give that video a watch. Trust me. Do you have a small leftist project to feed to the eyeballs? Send me exactly one email at thoughtslimeeditor@gmail.com with pertinent information like your personal pronouns, and also put the word eyeballs somewhere in the subject line so I know it's an eyeball email. Anyway, tremble, for the eyeballs approacheth. I'm going to read the real ingredients from my peanut butter, the actual peanut butter that I eat in the morning.
Select roasted peanuts, soybean oil, corn maltodextrin, sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oil, cottonseed and rapeseed oil, salt, mono and diglycerides.
Whoa, Doritos are only 150 calories a serving? That's roughly the amount of calories in a potato. Sounds too good to be true, right? It is. Do you know what a serving size of Doritos is? It's 12 Doritos. Roughly 1/10 of the bag's contents. Now if you ate that whole bag, that would be 1,500 calories, which for the average adult represents about 3/4 of the recommended daily caloric intake. Hey, ever notice that Tic Tacs call themselves sugar-free? If you look at the nutritional information on the box of Tic Tacs, it'll say that sugar contents are 0 grams. But if you look at the ingredient list, you'll notice sugar is literally the first ingredient listed. Now how do they square that exactly? Well, according to the FAQ page, literally on the Tic Tac website, Tic Tac mints do contain sugar as listed in the ingredient statement. However, since the amount of sugar per serving, 1 mint, is less than 0.5 grams, FDA labeling requirements permit the nutritional facts to state that there are 0 grams of sugar per serving. There you go. They're permitted to lie to you, so they did. Problem solved. That's normal, and that's the best labeling we could hope for. Hey, ever eat Vector cereal? They proudly boast they have 13 grams of protein, and it's in big letters on the box. So if you don't usually pay too close attention to your macronutrients, you might think, well, that's a lot of protein. First of all, more than half of that protein comes from milk, sold separately. The actual amount in the cereal is about 5.5 grams, roughly the amount in 1 egg or 2 potatoes. Not exactly impressive. Not that it needs to be, because when you read it, it has 13 grams of protein, you're like, well, that must be a lot, I guess, because if it wasn't a lot, they certainly wouldn't put it on the box. Do you know how many chips are marketed in Canada as being trans fat free? No, they are. It's not a lie. It's just that they have to be, because trans fats are banned in Canada, so. You might see that label and say to yourself, well, trans fat free, you know, these chips must be healthier than normal chips. Nope. It's like if they put a label on the bag that said, these chips aren't poison. It's like, yeah, none of the chips are poison. You're not allowed to sell poison chips. Or take emergency pouches. Now, they're pretty good if you're dehydrated because they have salt in them, and they're tasty, I guess. But if you think the vitamin C in them is going to help you if you have a cold or help turbocharge your immune system or whatever bullshit they try to claim, they're not going to do that. They lied to you, and they're allowed to lie to you. Because capitalism. Do you know what is a delicious and nutritious and nourishing meal? A farm-fresh salad with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. But if you want to eat that, you're going to have to spend a bunch of money on fresh vegetables, and also you're going to have to spend the time needed to prepare it, which you might not have. And then it only keeps for a couple of days, and then you have to start the whole process all over again. You know what? You know what's a lot cheaper, a lot easier? Just put a pizza pocket in the fucking microwave. Sure, it's bad for you, but it's all you gotta do. You just eat it. It's not even hot in the center. It's still kind of cold in the center, but you know what? I don't deserve hot food. And if you're really pinching those pennies, why not just grab a bunch of Mr. Noodles packets for about 69 cents a piece? Nice. By the way, one package contains more sodium than you're supposed to eat in a day. Did you know that the serving size for Mr. Noodles is half a package? Have you ever opened up a package of instant ramen and eaten half of it? I hope so, because otherwise that sodium could give you heart disease. Food deserts. Not to be confused with food desserts, which are good. That's like ice cream and stuff. No complaints there. I mean, ice cream could give you a headache, but that's not capitalism's fault. That's cold's fault. A food desert is an area in which the only access to food is cheap, shitty garbage. Maybe the only place you can buy food in your area is a 7-Eleven, so your diet might contain more Takis than doctors recommend. Millions of people live in food deserts in the United States alone, and it's highly correlated with income, meaning the less money you have, the shittier and more unhealthy your food is likely to be. Which might explain why people in low-income areas have twice as much exposure to fast food restaurants as people in high-income areas. Ever find yourself exhausted after a long day's work, and on your drive home you get Taco Bell and then you get diarrhea and you're mad at yourself because why the fuck would you get Taco Bell? Why did you do this to yourself? You know it's bad for yourself. And if you're like, how come I couldn't just show some willpower and eat better? Well, if it makes you feel better, a large part of the reason you didn't eat better is because you were targeted by predatory fast food companies. Now personally, I don't eat seafood, except for like seaweed, I guess. But I do have 2 large adult cats, and often cat food contains fish. In the wild, cats will eat an entire fish in one bite, and then they comically pull out the skeleton that remains intact. But I don't like to feed my 2 human children cats fish. Because that shit is full of mercury. Even if the fish is meant for human consumption, it's full of mercury. But the stuff that's not for human consumption, that stuff is used for pet food. So it has a higher mercury content, usually. And part of the reason for high mercury levels in fish is because of industrial waste being dumped straight into that great big ocean of ours. Because that's more profitable than, you know, dealing with it properly or developing cleaner tech. In fact, roughly 2/3 of the mercury in the ocean is from human activity. Not all of it is harmful, mind you, unless it happens to be converted into methylmercury by phytoplankton and passed up the food chain to the fish you eat. That type of mercury stays in your body forever. And it's toxic to your nervous system also. It could make your kidneys fail, and it can cause cognitive dysfunction. Now, you'd have to eat a lot of fish to get to that point, but just so you know, you are being poisoned a little bit every day. That's interesting, don't you think? And it ain't just mercury, neither. All that plastic floating around in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, that gets broken down into the little bits, swallowed up by fish, and then eaten by fish-eating animals, potentially including you. Plastic is not nutritious and may contain carcinogenic material. So it'd be really fucked up if a bunch of companies started including little bits of plastic in products meant to be washed down drains like shampoos or toothpastes. That'd be a fucked up thing to do. About 1/3 of all food is just thrown away, either because it didn't sell or because the manufacturer thought it wouldn't sell. And that's enough to feed every hungry person on Earth, and then some. Like, just seriously think that over. We're throwing out 1/3 of all food globally, and 11% of the world is food insecure. Do the math there. Now, if you can look at a system like that and say to yourself, yeah, well, it sounds like it's working like it should, then what the fuck is wrong with you? But this is a list about how capitalism is hurting you, not hungry people. And you know, if you're watching this, you're probably food secure, right? I hope you are anyway. But it might be worth considering how much throwing out a third of all food inflates the price of the food you buy. Production costs alone are up 1/3 high. Production costs alone are up to 1/3 higher. I mean, probably not because, it's not necessarily 3 times as expensive to grow 3 times as much food. But still, grocery stores and agriculture companies would prefer to throw away perfectly good food and pour bleach over it so that nobody can grab it from their dumpsters than sell it to you at a slightly lower price than whatever they've decided they can wring out of you. We all know that Coca-Cola used to contain trace amounts of cocaine. That would never fly today because cocaine is an addictive drug. Except, oops, high fructose corn syrup is a key ingredient in most sodas, and it's about as addictive as cocaine is because it's full of sugar, which is a drug. So is salt, by the way, which I didn't know before reading some stuff for this video. That's cool. That's an extra drug I'm eating every day. Kind of makes it difficult to eat only the recommended 12 Doritos. Hey everybody, we took a chicken sandwich and we made the bread also chicken. Wait, actually, we made the bread donuts. Wait, actually, we're gonna make a giant Dorito and make that into a taco. And we're gonna have a bag of Doritos that we're just gonna smash up and make nachos out of them. Actually, we're gonna serve you a gilded hamburger. Your ice cream is black now. We're going to 3D print cheese. It's not important if you want to eat any of these things. What is important is that they are everywhere and they're on social media so that our brand stays in your mind all the time. We took a pizza and put it on top of another pizza. We call it the double pizza. And we know you're gonna eat it. Well, you'll eat whatever slop we put in front of you, you fucking animal. I'm not, I want a new year, new me. I'm not going to eat these potato chips anymore. Time for a healthy new start. I'll eat these rice cracker snacks or vegetable straws. There's no way that those things could be similarly bad for me. They have 30% less fat than an unnamed brand of potato chips. So there's no reason for me to investigate any further. Hey, do you live on Earth? According to my analytics, most of my viewers do. And if you enjoy being alive on the planet, you might be interested to learn that we're fucking it up big time. Don't worry though, we could fix it for about $300 billion. Which is about the US military budget for 2 months. 3 people, 3 individual human beings, have enough money to fix this problem. But the nature of capitalism is that our leaders would literally let the entire world shrivel up and die, including potentially your grandchildren, than interfere with 3 human beings having more money than most countries. I don't know how to make fun of this anymore, because it's so fucking absurd. We are living in a cheap, ham-fisted satire, and I hope whoever wrote this shitty satire is learning something from it, because we certainly aren't. Is it gonna snow in May, or is it gonna be the hottest summer on record again? Massive floods, tsunamis, hailstones the size of basketballs? Who the fuck knows anymore? The climate is ruined. And nobody has any idea what that's gonna mean for the future. Our ability to predict the weather was never great, but now any absurd thing can happen. Our forests will burn, our cities will flood, and you won't get any warning because every tool we use to predict these things was calibrated for a not ruined planet. Okay, this one's a little shallow, but the noble giraffe, the mighty polar bear, the wise rhinoceros, all endangered. The mosquito? Doing just fine. The pigeon? Better than ever. We're moving towards a world where there are only shitty animals. I just want you to take a look at this photo of Beijing and imagine living there. Sorry, did I say Beijing? That was just so you'd pay attention because everybody likes to pretend that China is the only environmentally dangerous country on the planet. That's actually a photo of London. Toxic materials get used all the time, you might not even know. I live in a very rich country with a robust social safety net for white people. There's also a lead crisis with our drinking water, particularly in older homes and buildings, and in some cases, our schools. Lead, in case you didn't know, is neurotoxic and can lead to cognitive impairment, increased aggression, and organ failure. We're running out of bees! Not my problem, you might think. Fuck bees. Always going around, having sex with our flowers, stinging me. Bees can go to hell. Except you know what we need bees for? Global food production. Without them, the entire planet will be plunged into food insecurity. More important than food, though, is coffee. Coffee requires bees to fuck the coffee plants, which I can't stress enough is what I believe bees do. What's the point of living without coffee? Why get out of bed in the morning? Seriously, think about this. Phosphorus, which we need for fertilizer, rare earth minerals that we need for all electronics, natural gas, which we need for propane and propane accessories. Once they're gone, we don't know what we're gonna fucking do. Now, not all of this is capitalism's fault. We would be using these resources either way, but we'd be using a lot less because we're wasting a lot of them. Helium is one of the most precious natural gases on Earth. Its unique qualities make it essential in the production of LCD screens, fiber optics, and running MRI machines. Once we run out of terrestrial helium, which should take about 30 years at our current rate, that's it. It's going to be insanely expensive, if possible, to retrieve more. Don't you think it's a little strange then that helium is so cheap and disposable? You can literally go to the dollar store and fill up a bunch of balloons with it for like a couple bucks. You might even breathe in some to make your voice sound funny. Ha ha ha. Oh, my voice sounds ridiculous. That's because balloon companies in the States, which provide 80% of the world's helium, literally lobbied Congress to keep helium prices low, which sounds like a joke, and in a reasonable world would be a joke, but in ours is not. Helium prices are kept at a fixed rate so that we can keep filling balloons with this highly precious and irreplaceable gas. Capitalism found a way to make balloons evil. Kind of like Pennywise the Clown. The more scant resources are, the more desperate everyone becomes, the greater the temptation for rich countries with big armies to just walk into poor countries and take their shit. I mean, we've always been doing that, and by we, I mean people who live in rich countries and benefit from it, like me. Capitalism requires imperialism to function. Countries that try to nationalize industry or even just charge a fair price for their goods will be brought to heel. You can look at the coup right now in Bolivia for an example. Bolivia is
Oh boy, looks like I'm being silenced by the liberal media. Only one way to get back at those dastardly libs. Go to patreon.com/thoughtslime. Give me some money. I can no longer live this lie. I'm sorry, everyone. I've deceived you. In the beginning of this video, I said I would not do any more bits, and here I am doing a bit. It's not true. I haven't been silenced by the liberal media. I just put in a little joke at the end of the video to make it look like the CIA turned off the video. It's just a joke. I'm fine. I'm doing okay. Don't worry about me. Listen. One thing you can do, though, is if you want to see more videos like this, you can go to youtube.com/scaredycats, where I talk about horror movies. Did a little video about whether or not violence is okay in horror movies. Why don't you go watch that? Why don't you go there and watch that? You can also catch me streaming every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/thoughtslime. Gonna be playing Horizon Zero Dawn for a little while. It's a video game where you're a cave lady. This is the end of the video. You might notice I'm still talking, but make no mistake, the video is over. You can keep watching if you want. I don't think anything cool is going to happen after this point. But then again, you never know. Try watching the video again, and maybe you'll catch up. Maybe you'll catch lots of the Easter eggs.